Welcome back to the grand finals of First Stand 2026 G2 Esports versus BLG. Live VOD Game 1 has just ended. Let's look at the drafts. On the side of G2, I think everything is pretty standard, pretty common champions, except BB is playing Yorick. Now, BB, I'm pretty sure, has played tanks the last 6 games. Maybe he didn't play a tank in 1 game. But for the most part, he's only playing Shen and then Sion and Ornn and Kazate. Those are the only champions he's playing. So for me, that's the biggest change between the games today, this game and the games previously. I'm not sure if this is going to work well because Yorick fundamentally is a very different champion than a tank. You can't play with him. You just group up and play the game. You kind of have to get a side lane advantage. On the side of BLG, they have a very BLG comp. Almost all the champions that they're playing are the champions that I associate them with for the most part. Well, I guess that's not true. It's mostly just Viper and Shun, but Bin's Gnar is also very iconic, and so is Knight's Annie. They have a very classic scaling teamfight composition. I think it really is going to come down to this Yorick. That would be my opinion on how this game can play out, because I think Yorick needs to get some sort of value if G2 want to win this game. 3 minutes into the game, jungle clears were matched, but Skimond went to the top side. They both path down, I believe. And Labrov has to blow flash here. Not the greatest. From the side of Yunara, Nami, you think you're going to get an advantage, and they have a small advantage. But the first piece of action that happens is this gank on mid lane. This is kind of a crazy situation. Knight with some very clean movement, dodging the flash combo from Jarvan. The flash stun from Poppy barely doesn't stun Skimond, which is really bad because it allows Skimond to start kiting, and Knight kind of feels pressure to keep pushing and ends up getting traded on by Caps. Now it's just a 2v2. Caps is clicking in, but Shun and On think, hey, we actually win this. Another stun that barely doesn't stun Caps into the wall. He's barely getting out of here alive. Has flash up still. So here On doesn't think he can full commit because he's going to die to 2 autos. And On ends up going down. 3 for 1. G2 barely kind of getting very fortunate there not to have either of those Poppy stuns hit the wall, as that would have quite significantly changed the outcome of that play. But great start for G2 and Caps with a gold lead. Caps has not had the best tournament. Weirdly, you know, most international fans know Caps to be the heart and soul of G2, and while that is true, this tournament he really hasn't been the big carry performer that we know him to be from the past. It's really been about Hans Sama and Skimond specifically that have really stepped up these last 2 days and allowed them to get to here. But Caps with a great start. We shall see how he can use that and see if that ends up working out. But because of the earlier gank bot from Shun to get Labrov's flash, he is simply too far forward to get out of this. And a nice Poppy stun, and giving the kill to Viper is very nice. Good play from BLG, getting their bot lane ahead. This is something that hadn't really happened the last 2 days of G2's games. They've always had an advantage in bot lane, even from the very beginning. The top lane matchup, from my understanding, it gets better once you get like higher level, I think, for Yorick. So Bin being up a little bit isn't that big of a deal, but this gank timing this gank angle from Skimond is kind of crazy, and they kind of have the Venn diagram of circles that Bin with no flash cannot get out of. So great gank from Skimond. Getting the Yorick ahead is going to be very useful and may prove extremely valuable. Now we'll show what happens here. Hans Sama has 6 advantage. He pops his elixir and dashes in, but he dashes on the timer that On presses polymorph, and even though it's 6 disadvantage, Hans and Labrov don't win that because of the CC timing, and Hans's barrier is also mistimed, so he goes down actually, which is really bad because that is gonna, they were already behind, now they're even further behind. Caps gets flashed on but does manage to escape with his own flash. But this bot lane matchup is now, you know, the Yunara Nami are not going to be getting an advantage anymore. They're down too much gold, and this Sivir is going to be scaling very hard and has a very good composition around her to enable her to play the game. Annie has good engage, Gnar has some engage, Poppy has some engage. So a very fed Sivir with a Lulu behind her will be a problem. Now, Dragon nor Grubs have been taken at 9 minutes, which is a bit strange. But here, Skimon goes for the Annie flash. Now, I feel like, I'm not sure how worth it this is, but this starts a sequence of events. So, Annie gets chunked, has to flash, and has to recall. She TPs back. Now, very often after you TP back, you expect your lane opponent to TP back. So when we go back here, Caps is going to try to push this wave, and Annie is going to trade onto Caps. And I think Knight just assumed that Caps would be recalling here, because it's very common. But instead, Caps is going to go ward and cancel his base, because Skimond and Caps noticed that maybe Knight is going to play for this pink ward. And this is kind of a cheese play, because Knight still doesn't see Aurora until right now, because there was a pink ward in that bush. Didn't see there was no ward. Good play from G2 to repeat gank on that timing. I was also a bit surprised that there was no dragon tried, but here On gets knocked up, but the bubble is a bit slow, and because On survives here, this ends up actually being bad, because On gets the slow onto Jarvan, and Jarvan has no flash from the kill into Annie, and this baits this, you know, Lebrov also has to walk up. He does trade with On, so it's not that bad, but another favorable trade for BLG's bot lane. This is really bad for G2, because they really need to have the damage to kill through the front line. The Aurora being fed is very good, but Aurora can't kill frontliners very well, especially when there are enchanters in the game, unless she's very strong. But this overextension from G2, a bit misplayed, I would say. I think it is a good idea, but Lebrov missing the chain CC with the bubble really changes the way that play looks. Now here, there's a small aspect of this TP that he runs in like a weird angle so no one sees it. But this TP is a really insane TP, and I'm so surprised that Viper does not die here. G2 just thought he was dead, so they don't actually use anything, but he ends up getting away because of a very nice flash timing. Caps used QE when he should have just kept running at the Sivir, because of exactly what happens essentially. If Aurora gets her stuff flashed, she's actually not even in range to ulti. This is a very common way that Aurora works. So just a misplay from Caps not realizing that that was actually an angle to escape. But Skimon is going to start the grubs right now. I think that this is essentially a BLG want to play the bot side, because I'm pretty sure they can contest this if they want to. There's not really a reason that they can't, because Caps doesn't even have flash, or Caps doesn't have ulti, and top lane's getting kind of screwed. Like that Yorick is not healthy. But instead, BLG opt to go bot side. But the thing that's confusing to me is that they opt to go bot side, but then they don't full commit. And I assume that they don't full commit because Caps has prio. But I feel like if you're going to make this play, you have to do, like, if you're going to give these grubs without contesting when your top's winning and you have mid advantage with ulti, I feel like you have to do something with that advantage. You can't just not contest. I don't think that that is a very high expected value from the side of BLG, but it isn't that bad to just give grubs for free, but it's just not optimal. Also, I forgot to mention that BLG got the dragon off of that dive, that overextension, near the enemy Gromp for BLG. This game is pretty long, so we'll try to go a bit faster. Herald starts. Herald start at 15 is going to be the next form of a contention. There's a lot of looking at each other and finding angles onto the opponents in this game. The most important thing against Jarvan is your flash. And being able to save flash or not use flash is very important. Here, On gets found, but very intelligently does not panic, does not flash. If he flashes immediately, he's going to get... Well, if he goes over the wall, he'll be fine, but then he has no flash. If he flashes not over the wall, then he might get ulted, and potentially that could be bad. But doesn't panic, just press heal. But that is a win for G2 to get the Lulu heal and the pressure and control over that area. BLG is going to walk in. Both top laners don't have TP. So Caps being here way earlier is noticeable. And that is why this fight is so winning. Because Knight is simply so far away. Knight, if we look at the mini-map. So there are 2 kills here. And Herald for G2. But just look at Knight. I'm not sure if BLG thought Knight was going to TP to them. But they're trying to walk in 3v4. So this is just kind of insane from BLG. China is known for being very, very aggressive, but this is not being aggressive. This is just being stupid. So good punish from G2. G2 playing well. They're up 500 gold. This is a very close game. In their games yesterday against Gen G, it's kind of crazy to say, but they were kind of stomping every game. And by this point, they had a 5k gold lead in every game. Something like that. But here, game is very equal. Bin gets the bot tower, and then there's a skirmish around bot lane, and he flashes over the Jarvan EQ. If Skimod was completely insane and he EQ'd, saw Bin flash and follow flash and still knocked him up, that would have been the most insane play, and it would have made this winning. But instead, BB dies, and Skimod gets chased down and also dies. So a potentially good play ends up being bad. And now this Gnar, who was very slightly ahead, is now really ahead because he got a tower and he got a kill and an assist, and now this Gnar is going to be a problem, and the Yorick is going to be quite weak. He's quite behind in this game. One aspect of a bunch of kills being injected into the game is that the people that aren't a part of those kills tend to get very behind just because there's so much gold injection, but they're not a part of it, even though they could be like 0-0-0. It's just if I'm 5-5-5 and you're 0-0-0, I might be stronger than you just because I have 5 kills. Even if I have 10 deaths, even if I'm 5-10-5, I might still be stronger. But a fight immediately out of the replay. Knight gets caught. We won't see a replay of that because there is so much action in this game. On goes down as well. Really good play. So Caps, we were talking about earlier how, you know, this tournament, he really hasn't been the main point on G2 like he has so much in the past. This game, that is not the case. He is 6-0-2. He's doing extremely well, being a part of a lot of what G2 is trying to do and being the carry that G2 need in this game. Performing very well. Very good play from G2. Oh no, we do get a replay. So we can see how this begins. Yeah, it's an anti-stun onto Nami, but Caps is in the bush, gets the one shot in return. But then immediately out of the replay again, we see Bin overextended. Now this was due to a Aurora TP behind Bin. And this is good because Bin was really strong, and being able to shut him down, allow Yorick to sort of get back into the game is going to be really nice. Notably, we haven't really talked much about the Yorick, and what I want to see from this point on is Yorick playing in the side lane and getting some advantage, but he might be too behind, frankly. Herald gets mid tier 1. Caps is looking for a little poke here. And Yorick is going to get bot tier 1 as well after the Gnar goes down. And we're going to skip a bit of this because this game is very long. So we do need to hurry it up a little bit. So we're contesting on this mid. There was a little Baron skirmish, but nothing happened. Here, On flashes in, but Caps gets the Aurora ult off and survives. So Caps has been living barely a lot, but very pivotably, the Lulu uses flash. And that is really, really important. Anytime anyone uses flash that doesn't have any mobility against Jarvan, you have to be very, very hyper aware of such. And that is going to matter, kind of. So here, Knight gets caught in the Yorick W, the Yorick cage. Also has to flash. Now, Annie's flash is even more important because she basically can't engage without flash. It's just too... Her engage is way too telegraphed without flash. So now Annie is kind of useless. She's just going to follow up on the engage of other people. We also really haven't talked much, but Knight has not done anything this game. Again, Skewmon uses the Mega Cone and finds Viper. Viper misplays by, like, not flashing earlier. I understand, like, if he flashes, he's gonna get Jarvan ultied, but I'm pretty sure he still needs to flash earlier, because he just gets auto-attacked to death and then flashes under tower. And still dies. So, Viper also uses flash, and now Dragon's up. G2 is going to get this for free. They have no AD carry on the side of BLG. And in the pick, there was a fight topside in the picture-in-picture that Bin also used flash, and Caps didn't have to use flash to get away. So, 4 flashes for down for BLG. So, in my head, I'm thinking G2, this is the time that G2 want to fight. There are no flashes. If there can be a big fight now, this would be very, very good for G2 because they should have an advantage. They have most of their flashes up. The only one with no flash is Skewmon, and the only one with flash on the side of BLG is Shun. And Bin here playing very aggressively. It's a 3 versus 1. A flash bubble from Lebrov gets the CC here, but Bin doing a phenomenal job at not going down without a fight, getting a ton of damage down onto Hans before he goes down. And BLG make the call, like, this is where we're gonna make our stand. Flash trade from Shun, and then the E afterwards makes Han goes down. But pivotably, this Sivir has no flash up here, and Skewmon gets the one shot. And another important aspect is that Knight has no flash and also gets killed in the cage. So Annie and Sivir both died, like, essentially getting solo killed because they have no flash. And that's why these flashes are so important. It's not just the Jarvan cage they have to worry about. It's the Yorick cage as well. And G2 with a big fight there. Big fight win. 5-4-2, I think. And they're enjoying a healthy gold lead. Very nice. 3K. Bin on the side again, but does, I believe, get out. So we're just going to skip past this. Drake is coming up in a minute. And we're going to skip ahead to the important parts. So here, Bin is getting a ton of damage onto Skewmon, and this is what gives BLG the confidence to go in for this engage. ER into Lulu ulti onto Hans. Hans gets chain CC'd, and the fight is immediately over. That G2 lead that they had is now gone because BLG is going to get Nash. It's not contestable. Caps is very fortunate to get the Mega Cone off with the ulti to get away. And then Bin has used flash. His flash is a little less important because he has a jump, but Caps not going down is big. G2 is going to get the dragon, but BLG is going to have the Baron. Now, with Baron, very often you'll see 4 people in one lane and 1 person in mid lane. In this case, BLG is sitting up bot side, so you'll see BLG eventually transition to 4 people bot and 1 person mid. Now, as we play this out, you'll see that Yorick is pushing top, and this induces Gnar to recall. Now, the big thing about this is Gnar is really the person that is making a big problem for G2. The Sivir is fed and is very strong, but the Sivir can't do, like, an actionable play to make the game difficult. The Poppy and the Gnar can play the game in, like, they will set up the Sivir for success. The Sivir cannot create her own success. So the Gnar being top lane, BLG kind of move away from this bot tier 2. And their plan is to go into top side, but this chunk from Caps kind of blocks their Baron siege. They cannot go for mid-top tier 2 push because Sivir is very low and no ulti. So BLG just back off. They restart their Baron push with only 1 wave left. They get mid tier 1, and bot tier 2 is 1 HP, so they're going to get that as well. So 2k gold lead from BLG. Game is looking completely fine for them, and they have a very fed AD carry. The dragon is coming up. Hans does not have his LDR yet, but I think the main reason that G2 don't try to contest this is look at this Sivir ricochet damage across the team. It's just, they kind of take too much damage, and BLG have full control, and they never give it from this dragon. So we're just gonna skip ahead. BLG has taken the Nash, and here Bin TPs below, looking to corral G2 away from their base. BLG is walking in, but G2 aren't really in position to get engaged on. Skimod is slightly out of position, and he does end up having to blow flash, but it is in trade with Bin. Bin also flashed. Again, Bin's flash is not that important, but it is important. It may come back to matter. Jarvan's flash is also very important because he can flash our EQ out, for example, onto a carry. But without flash, that is obviously not possible. Now, we're going to see a skirmish around mid lane. This is just fighting for control. If either team goes side lane, the idea is that it'll be too hard to control Nash. Here, Aurora ulti doesn't get a ton of value. Shun gets Jarvan ulti, but it's a lot of trading. Shun's flash E onto Hans barely misses the wall. Mikhail's is down on Nami. Mikhail's was used on somebody else. If that stun landed, Hans was instantly dead. But the stun doesn't land. Lots of ultis used, and that favors BLG because their AD carry is the super strong one, and G2's ultimates are really what allow them to get access into the backline. The Baron start from BLG. They don't want a 50-50. They just want to fight. And if with the Sivir ulti, they're just going to start running at Broken Blade. And here, Knight goes for the flash onto the Yorick, and he goes down. This is why Yorick is just not... Right now, he is playing Yorick like it's a tank, because we've never talked once about, oh, he's split pushing, that's a problem, and BLG need to do something about it. Yes, I think his ghouls helped push and get this bot tower, but he's playing like it's a tank, and this is probably why they played him on a tank all these other games. But the Poppy ult comes out onto Nami, so it's not that bad, but G2 is still trying to contest this 4v5. They feel like if they don't fight this, then it's going to be very hard to contest the Dragon Soul. Hans gets a lot of damage onto On, and Knight, no flash, remember. He used it onto Yorick. Shun goes for the stun, but Hans flashes it. Viper takes some damage, and now BLG is kind of too low to fight. The chase is coming in from G2. EQ coming in from Jarvan with GA, so it's fine. Caps flashes in, gets On, and it's another slow chase. This is so bad for BLG. They can't just stand and fight. Caps another kill onto the Sivir, just going in and out, weaving those spells so effectively. And Bin goes in as well. And Bin going in, I don't think he needs to. I'm pretty sure if he just tries to run, he's gonna get away because he's gonna have his mini Gnar like speed boost thing when he comes out of into mini Gnar. But that's 4 deaths from BLG. 30 seconds plus. Only the Annie's alive, but it's an Annie who's 0-5, and the game simply ends here. There's no way. 3 grubs from G2, 5 people alive. No way an Annie can do anything about it. Yeah, she doesn't even kill the Jarvan. It's just a first win. So, huge game 1. Yorick didn't do anything, basically. So, G2 winning despite the Yorick kind of not doing anything gives me a lot of hope that G2 is playing really well. And from the actual watching the game, Caps is really playing well. Skimod's playing well. The bot lane had a rough start early, but they played well later in the game. The team fighting was very clean. So I'm excited for game 2, and we'll see how that develops. Coming in game 2, looking at the drafts. I gotta say, looking at the drafts, I'm not a huge fan of G2's draft this game. Reason being is a couple reasons. First is this LeBlanc feels and looks terrible because there's a lot of there's targeted CC that you can like flash Pantheon W, or it's not targeted, but taunt flash is also very fast to dodge. So LeBlanc has to be very respectful this game, and we'll have to go Mercs and then ends up building Mercs. And there's also not really a lot of poke you can get down on the enemy team, and there's a lot of shielding to prevent assassinations from the enemy team. So I really don't like the LeBlanc. Zehen also, from what I understand, has a really hard matchup into Gwen. So I'm not sure if I love that pick, although Zehen against the rest of the champs does feel quite nice. Another aspect of this draft is Mundo is very strong, but Gwen does a lot of damage to him, and if Gwen has a winning matchup, that seems a bit scary. So overall, I feel like BLG's comp, I kind of like it more. I don't think G2's comp can properly deal with the tools that BLG has. BLG has very strong side laning with lots of globals and a very safe AD carry. So BLG can kind of just surf the map looking for kills, while G2 can't really properly have the same numbers with how many globals that BLG has. Action starts very early this game. Pantheon invading red level 1 and Mundo starting red level 1. Now, Skimon does check this bush, so very intelligent from him to know to do that. And Labrov and On are going to come here, and it's going to be a 2v2. Shun has to flash away, but this is just going to be kind of like not really playable for G2. The smite from Skimon barely doesn't get the red, but it should always be BLG favored because Pantheon Q with the passive is a better smite secure than Cleaver smite is from Mundo. So the red buff and the Wraiths go to the Pantheon as well. Labrov has to base. On doesn't have to base. So this is bad for Hansama as well. Additionally, Corki is a better 1v1 champ early than Ezreal is. So here, Viper just ease in and just trades with Hansama, and Hansama is forced to base. And this is going to result in this comical situation where, because of the jungle pathing, like they know that he's not here, and because of what happened level 1, BLG is literally fighting between the towers right now. The problem is that they're killing the Bard, and very well played from G2's bot lane to go neutral there. On runs away and bases, but does end up going down eventually. If it was simply a 1-for-1 Ezreal for Corki, this would have been insanely good for G2, or excuse me, for BLG. But because it was a 1-for-1 bar for Ezreal, Corki's still gonna get the wave. He's also gonna be able to push this wave because of how strong Corki Valk is for killing waves. And it's not that good, honestly, for BLG that they did that. I think a bit overplayed, or perhaps potentially just not properly like playing for the right target. Like they should always try to kill the Corki there instead of going for the Bard, in my opinion. So we haven't really talked much about jungle because it was kind of crazy. They were farming their top sides there, and the Raptors are spawning. Shun is going to evade these again. Whenever Shun was the one that killed them, so he knows when they're coming up. He invades, but I think Skimon gets most of them. Caps is extremely low, but Shun doing this, even some emoting, this pushes Mundo out of the bot side, and this is going to set up a bot dive that G2 can't really do anything about. What G2 make a mistake with is getting traded on before this dive. Hansama getting really chunked before the dive even starts is very bad. But this dive isn't super easy, and well, you know, actually I think it should have been easy, but they just played it so poorly. They played it so poorly that they end up dying. I think I really think if Viper is the one that tanks, this is a free dive. Like, all that needs to happen is Viper auto attack Labrov here, and then this Corki is just dead. Like, Q from Pantheon, you start with Q, then press W, he's gonna cleanse it, and like, I swear he's just gonna die. Like, you can even QE, but like, I swear just Viper needs to be the one to tank it so that Shun can go in. Viper can drop tower aggro really easily. Anyways, okay, it was a 1-for-1. This game, there is so many picks. You know, when a pick happens, we'll address it, but we probably won't go in detail every single one because there are a lot of picks eventually. Now, there's a big fight that happens again around the bot side. This is where all the action happens in the early game. Huge fight, cleanse, exhaust trade, and Skimon level 6, level 4. So we didn't talk about because of what Pantheon did, Skimon got a huge level lead, and here he gets level 6 off of the Krugs and has 6 advantage, and that makes him feel very confident that this is a winning play. The problem is that he takes a ton of damage from that Q execute from Pantheon and still goes down. BLG winning that 3v3 is a bit insane, but in favor of G2, we'll skip ahead to the replay because if you noticed, there was a solo kill happened in the mid lane. Caps killing Knight here, and it was a bit spaghetti. We'll call a spade here. He goes for it, gets stunned a little bit, takes this back, misses the chain. Knight flashes out, but there was no tower shot from the tower, and that's why Knight thought he would die to the tower shot in his auto, but Caps flashed out before the tower shot, meaning that there was not enough damage, essentially. Okay. Galio gets caught, has to ult out. A second game in a row with a relatively late dragon start. I feel like in most of this tournament, there have been 5-minute dragons in huge majority of the games. But this is the second game in a row this series where no dragon, no grubs. We are taking it very slow. Caps almost going down here. Will end up getting out. And here, on gets away, but top lane is where the action is because BB he got Pantheon ultied. He flashed in because he wants to keep his passive up. It was bad because, as you saw, he died instantly, but he was dead and he was trying to play it in a way where he wouldn't die. But it was just wrong. Now off the top kill, they're gonna get grubs from this. Makes sense. And 1.5k gold lead for BLG. From draft, also something important to note is On took Shen from BB. BB's been having very good Shen games top lane, so this is a good draft capital game for BLG, getting out the Shen. Also, something about draft is that BB is again not playing a tank, which has been surprising, but the tanks are still available to be picked, so this game can't go fewer than 2 more games, so he will definitely have some options for a tank at some point, right? He's been picked 2 very difficult tank matchups for BB, Gwen and Gnar. So G2 get the dragon here. I think they mostly get the dragon because their Galio is quite low and they see the option for a top play. BB is very low, but he ends up getting away, so we're gonna move on. He ends up getting away. Don't worry about it. It's not that big of a deal. But that was the trade for the dragon. It just didn't end up working. BB played it well. Okay. BB. Okay, here is where he does go down. So this was a gank. BB's trying to ward the push out after the dive attempt. Shen ulti's in. Okay, BB gets caught. Not much you can do there. But Bin gets very strong off of this. Caps comes in to take the wave. G2. It feels like BLG is the one making all the plays right now. And G2, they try to make a play. Labrov could have tried to Q flash there, but doesn't pull the trigger. Probably thinking that Viper is gonna, at worst flash away match. Or at worst, E the flash. But, he could also just flash his flash and then probably nothing will happen, so he doesn't go for it. G2 kind of look for their play, but it's a bit overextended, and there's a nice TP ward from Bin, splitting up Han, Sama, and the rest of the team, so he just gets kind of engaged on. Bin is 1v3ing. G2, the 3 champions that were there for G2 just simply don't deal enough damage to the Gwen currently. And now they're kind of fish in a barrel. Nice snipe there from Shun. Now Caps is TPing in. Galio has no TP, but I feel like this TP placement was not good. And this is where I was talking about all that targeted CC being really difficult, because look what happens to Caps when he goes in. Instant taunt flash from the Shen and the exhaust from Ezreal. It just doesn't feel like a good LeBlanc game, because you can't do plays where in that situation against a different team comp, he could go in, get like a double distortion, deal a ton of damage. In this game, he simply can't. He just gets taunt flashed and instantly goes down. Galio getting a lot of gold on the bot side of the map. Now, out of this replay, there is a fight. Shen is going to get ulted, but BLG are sort of nearby, and the Galio ulti, because he was not there, is still up. Hans goes down, and BLG get another pick here. Oh, there's another fight after this. I didn't write this down in my notes, but I forgot. There was a lot of fighting this game. So, oh yes, On goes down here. Right, I remember now. Okay. The overextension from BLG trying to get more than they bargained for. Now Bin's coming in. He goes for something. But I think Skymon lives with the flash. He is okay. Caps is pushing top here. Caps is the only person on G2 that's strong, but again, LeBlanc does not feel very good this game. This is not a game where I think LeBlanc can carry. Aurora last game, I think she was in a position where her champ could actually carry, but this is not that game. And BLG get their first dragon of the game. Now we enter the phase of the game that I call, I'm going to show somebody getting caught, and then nothing's going to happen. So here, Bin has Shen ulti. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to go forward there. Bin has Shen ulti. He's going to try to 1v2. The champions from G2 don't deal enough damage to kill Gwen very quickly. Nobody ends up going down here, but some tools utilized for BLG. There helps out Zehen. And around here, Labrov is going to contest for vision. Now, this happens very often. Something like this is going to look really stupid that Labrov dies to this, but the thing is, you have to realize is supports play this like game of chicken all the time with each other. Actually, before we get to that, after the kill onto Labrov, Caps was looking for a play onto Bin, you know, but the TP comes in from the Galio, and now they have to bail. There's not enough time to kill the Gwen before the Galio shows up. BB is now on the wrong side of history and goes down as well. And 4K gold lead from BLG, feeling pretty strong. In the game while I was watching, was expecting BLG to be more aggressively looking for Baron than they were. They get this dragon. I think this makes sense. They're very strong right now. I think they can, you know, I feel like they are close to trying to start Baron. And another pick, Labrov, nice Mikhail's on himself to not get killed by that by the on taunt flash. Really clean timing. He survives. Juan has some nice movement as well. Nobody goes down. But back to the Baron. I feel like it may be better is just to show you. Here, Labrov, again, is going to get caught. On is behind him this time. And yeah, it's unfortunate. He is going to end up going down. Shun almost escapes for his life, but Shun gets him. And Bin is here. Zehen is pushing top and Caps is pushing bot. Here, you know, I understand not starting Nash because it's only the support that died, but I feel like just looking at the champs and the items that nobody on G2 is useful. I swear, like, BLG can just start Nash right now. They don't need to play that defensively. Maybe that's because I'm bad, though. I have no idea. Here, G2 look for something. BLG has kind of just progressed their goal lead a lot. BB gets Pantheon ulted again. Remember, there's so many globals on the side of BLG. It's very hard to play side lanes this game. BB is going to buy a lot of time. And again, BLG is trying to, at least, not allow the Zehen passive come through. As soon as Zehen passive comes through, Gwen TP's in to make sure that this Zehen goes down. And that just shows you the respect that the BLG give to the Zehen. They need Gwen to kill him. If Gwen is there, though, he does die very quickly. But if he's not there, the Gwen might be going down. Or excuse me, the Zehen might not be going down. Okay. BLG is going for this red buff, and it's going to turn into a massive skirmish. Caps looking on the side, gets a little bit of poke, but gets out. Labrov walks up, gets stunned by Pantheon. Bin blocks some of the damage. Labrov is the one that ends up going down. Shun gets another ability there. Labrov goes down. Again. He's 1-5. BLG know who they're trying to kill. Dragon's up in 30 seconds. So BLG are definitely going to want to play for that. They get it in the replay. We don't even get to see it. The next thing that happens, would you guess? It's Labrov getting caught again. So Labrov, you know, he's not had the best game. It's been a tough game. But I think G2's comp is really difficult to play, and the Pantheon being really fed makes it really difficult. And this is another instance where I'm very surprised at the I use the word discipline to say not start the Baron, but I really think they should be starting Baron. I don't think this is correct. Instead, they kind of trap it, and nothing happens, right? Like, that's like the 4th pick on LeBron in 10 minutes or something, and nothing has happened other than they've just gotten 4 kills and they gotten the dragons. They haven't gotten any towers, but they do have a 5-kill goal lead. They are progressing the game slowly but surely. And the later the game goes, it's not clear. I missed this. It's not clear that it's actually that good for G2 because Gwen is also scaling a lot. Here, Caps goes for poke onto the Gwen, but the Gwen reacts quickly enough, pops her W. With her W, she gets so many resistances. Caps is now getting caught. Shen no ulti. Gwen no ulti. Caps goes down. If he didn't take the tower shot, he might have actually lived, but he does go down. Here, BLG, again, they don't opt to try to go to the Nash. They instead just push a bot tier 2, except I don't think they can get that much because Skewmond can sit here if there's not 5 people and clear this wave. Again, this time it's the mid laner dying. I really feel like BLG is supposed to be doing Nash. Like, they're so strong. I swear they can just do it, and like there's nothing that G2 can realistically do. They can just turn very easily, but they don't. Instead, we're gonna have another fight around mid lane. This time, it is Bin making the TP play, flank around. Night flashes in, but G2 is running into the Gwen. Caps goes for the assassination onto Ezreal, but there's so much protection. Galio ulti, and he has Hexstring. He has Maw already. This is kind of like what you want to see out of the Zahen. Unfortunately, when there's 4 people on top of Zahen with a Gwen there, the Zahen doesn't survive. Finally, BLG is going to get that Nash off of a very good TP play and engage from them. So good work for them. And the Cloud Soul is coming up. But instead of fighting about Cloud Soul, it's just going to be a fight in mid lane. Almost the exact same place as the last fight. Viper ease in though, and BB already has the Q2, gets the W. Viper ults the wrong direction. Caps goes in for the damage, but Shen ulti and Galio ulti come in, providing a shield for all the damage. Then after, excuse me, Pantheon gets into the thick of things with the ultimate, and that's gonna be Cloud Soul for BLG. Cloud Soul is very strong, but it isn't as strong as the other souls this game. I think all of the other souls would have actually been better, but Cloud Soul is still extremely good. I just think this game, all of the souls are really strong. After the dragon, Skewmond is trying to get this top crab and will get caught, I think. No, he doesn't get caught. He survives. He's playing Mundo. There's no Gwen there. If there's no Gwen, he does not die. Now the Gwen's there. Shows up, level 19. And nobody dies, but some spells utilized. Caps is going on the side. A Bard ulti lands onto the Ezreal. And this is the time for G2 to make their stand. They get a kill onto the Ezreal. BB is very unkillable right now. Flashes in, has the GA, so it does not matter. Skewmon flashes in on the Shen. Gwen is gonna go down here. Doesn't have a way to get out due to the Corki doing a ton of damage to her. And the Galio is gonna go down as well. So BLG from a 7k gold lead throw and go down to only a 3k lead. Are G2 really gonna come back in this game? Absolutely. If G2 win this game, it would be a freaking insane result. Not because of anything beyond just that this game was completely unplayable. BB tries to 1v2, but barely isn't able to. No armor at all from the side of BB. So all the CC and the Pantheon, low-key, has 4 items and does a lot of damage. And is kind of good at killing tanks. Now, while BB is still dead, Skewmond is here, but this tower is fake. This is a fake tower. It dies to 1 auto attack, and Skewmond gets caught being too aggressive. He ults, but if there's 5 people hitting you, you're gonna die when Gwen is one of them. So Now this is really problematic because, well, okay, no, sorry, it's not problematic. The Zen has spawned. G2 need to not lose the game right now. BLG are saying we are going to dive. They see Pantheon is running away to ult in, and that is the go bell. They go on Hans, he cleanses it, but BB also gets taunted and gets completely one shot. His build I don't personally like, BB's build. But now it's 5v3, and LeBlanc and Corki with no frontline simply can't kill the wave to prevent BLG from hitting the tower and ending the game here. So, really good play from BLG. A little bit of a throw, but they do end up winning this game, bringing it to 1-1. Very happy to see that it is not going to be a 3-0 in the finals. 1-1. BLG bounced back. Very well played by them. Got a lot of picks this game. Nice drafting. Let's see how game 3 goes.
What do you think?
Game 3, looking at these drafts, big thing from BLG side is Jax for Bin. That's going to be big. But BB is on the side, which he has been playing so far. The bot lane matchup is probably where the focus of this game will be in the early game, because it is the Varus Karma versus Ash Seraphine. That's a very volatile lane. I believe that Varus Karma should have an advantage, but it is a volatile enough lane that it isn't guaranteed. The Xin Zhao Ash Seraphine is very strong 3-core. Aatrox is a bit flimsier in terms of a 3-core because he has like effective HP if assuming he can survive, but he's not actually tanky himself. But mid lane matchup is going to be control mage. This one is actually not that interesting. A lot of control mage matchups are very interesting. I don't think this one is actually that interesting, but we'll see how it plays out. Shun has started, so it's a mismatch jungle clear. And Shun started his bot side camps, which are abnormal when talking and looking at a bot lane matchup like this. You don't really want to path towards top, but that's because he is planning on invading the enemy blue buff. I imagine that they expected to get prio in this bot lane, which is why Shun feels confident enough to go for this play. Skimond, I think he pretty instantly agrees that this is not contestable. Shun, immediately after taking the blue, recalls and tries to get here on time to prevent Skimond from taking his blue, and is successful. Skimond can't get this blue. Skimond doesn't want to fight Shun either because Shun has a longsword advantage and is full HP. Shun is also going to take the top crab here. So pretty bad start from Skimond. And we'll see how this affects the game, because Skimond has been such a big part of G2's victories, and him being set behind, if he stays behind, that could be a big problem. Skimond does get his second Raptor respawn, but so does Shun, so they kind of trade that. And this was actually quite calm game, considering how hectic the other games were. Not as many kills, but this early game was really all about the jungle. And here Skimond, again, is taking time out of his clear in order to help mid lane. And, you know, this is good, but he's already super behind. Shun is going to full clear his camps right now. Or he can full clear his camps right now. He just did his Raptors, and he did his Raptors, and he did his Krugs. Now he's doing his Wolves. He has his full set. Skimond only has the 2 camps, but he's pretty slow clearing it. And I guess he has a lot of time, but he is kind of just straight up behind. And there, again, isn't that early of like no 5-minute dragons this game, but there does have a dragon relatively early. Here, Caps is basing, and this base is going to set up the dragon play that G2 makes eventually. So here Labrov gets a health positive trade onto On, especially because Labrov pushes On off of these fruits, and that trade allows the bot lane from G2 to build a kind of massive wave. It was probably already building, but this massive wave building is very nice for G2. Because Cap's based, he's going to have prio over the Mel, and this is what gives G2 the confidence to start this dragon. Remember, Skimond is slightly behind Shun, but because they have mid and bot prow, this allows G2 to get this first dragon, which is very nice because they have a Scion and a Nivea. Bin flashes in, BB flashes out. No big deal. BB is doing a pretty good job, only down around 10 CS in this top lane matchup. Not anything to be worried about from G2 side. BB's been playing very well on the tanks all these last 3 days especially. So this Scion is going to be very scary because he is not being shut down at all. But it is been on Jax, and he is known for that, and we'll see how he can make magic happen on it. The top prow from the Jax though is going to make Shun feel pretty confident in getting these grubs. It's also going to be very helpful because Jax is going to be able to split push very effectively when the Scion wants to overgroup, as Scions tend to do. So a good priority on the grubs, but grubs are not immediate power. They're long-term power, but they are very powerful in my opinion. Still no kills, which is very, very strange. Remember how hectic last game was? I think there was almost a kill a minute in both games. But here, Knight, he gets walled and then gets stunned after the rebuttal goes down. Knight very low, very chunked here, but doesn't die. Doesn't have to flash either. And Skimond has been relatively consistently slightly behind. Not enough to matter, and in fact his items are actually better, but he is down in gold. But he's trying to make his play to get back in gold here, contesting the blue, but Shun doesn't bother with trying to get the blue. Well, he does smite the blue. Instead, he's just focused on killing Skimond, and I think Skimond just emphasized the importance of this blue buff. If we go back and look at what actually happens, Shun is just full auto attacking Skimond here, and Skimond is just not fighting. He got his full Conqueror stacks before Skimond had to use a single spell that does anything to Shun. So kill for BLG, and importantly, Knight gets the kill. Knight has been not that, big in these games. Game 1, he had a very bad game on Annie. Not very, very quiet game, maybe is a better way. Very quiet game from Knight game 1. Game 2, also not like phenomenal. He did like fine on the Gallia, but this game, he's going to start off with a kill. This is really good. Mel, very strong, especially against champions like Pokevarus and Karma, because a lot of their damage is concentrated on one ability that Mel can block. Now, the Mel W doesn't work favorably with Anivia Q because you can't recast the Anivia Q, but I think Mel is pretty OP here. Lebrovin on trade flashes, and Caps has to flash mid lane. We don't see on flash, but he flashed over the wall. That's why he is completely safe. So a bit of a flash trade there before the dragon that's spawning in 20 seconds. Here, the Scion almost makes a huge play, but Bin has enough mana for the E and then flashes out. Flash advantage for Broken Blade. Gotta say, he must be feeling good about the way that this lane is going. He is down gold purely because of the call, and otherwise he is completely fine. Maybe getting some more valuable what's it called, maybe getting some more valuable creeps as well, because he doesn't have any plates, so he can't. I don't know where this gold is coming from. Call doesn't actually. Okay, anyways, doesn't matter. I think it is call. It's just okay, never mind, doesn't matter. There's a fight around here. Lebrov gets caught. He traded flashes with On earlier, but here Ash is the first one moving, so this is just bad. Like this is not the right time for G2 to be contesting. And we hadn't talked about the gold lead, but the gold lead balloons to 3K at 13 minutes, which is quite significant. This is not any of the other games where it was, basically dead even for a very large majority of the game. Here, BLG has a very significant 4,000 gold lead at 13 minutes, and Skimond dies again, and this puts him even further behind. This Aatrox is not feeling very strong currently. He needs a lot more items, but Shun is feeling strong. He's already got he's got a 1,000 gold lead, and he's already back in the enemy jungle trying to cause problems for G2. G2's bot lane kind of can't sit under this bot tower anymore. It's too scary. They also can't even contest this as 4. Well, like they could try to contest it, but I think they just don't think they're strong enough to contest it. So they decide to not contest it. There's going to be a lane swap here. Varus is saying, I'm going mid. Anivia goes top. This is a double shift. Classic double shift. Sion, the best weak side champ in the entire game, basically, because he is so tanky and can clear the wave even if he dies. Anivia goes top. Close. Not close, sorry. A solid gold lead still here. Hans missing the Varus ulti. Not the biggest deal, but that's a skill shot that is always landable unless they have a ton of move speed. So if you ever dodge it, you kind of get outplayed. Here, G2, excuse me, Bin gets bot tower. And this is what I'm talking about with the grubs being very important. San, if we go back, San is overstaying to go mid here. He's not there. G2 is looking for a play, but there is simply no play. Bin stays bot. Good defensive play from BLG side to not get caught there, and G2 lose the tower for that roam from San. Now that tower is eventually going to die, but it still goes down because of that. And here Sion, when he shows back up bot lane, has no TP, and Bin could move topside if he wanted. This makes BLG feel very confident to start the Herald, even though Jax isn't actually moving. Additionally, G2 might not want to fight because they are just behind, but there are other aspects or other factors in play that might have been that. I can't know what the reason is, but I do know that Sion had no TP and was showing bot and Jax should move. Okay, still not a very high kill game here. There was some action, a wall to prevent Knight from trying to get to this bot wave. Shun looking for something. And here, Bin not in the best conditions. Aatrox shows here, and Aatrox showing here, you see there's a billion pings around the mid lane right now. This is because BLG want to drop the Herald here. And this is a relatively good time to drop the Herald. Probably isn't going to take the tower, but Seraphine getting into this Herald is really scary. But it's so bad that Hans misses this Varus ultimate onto the Seraphine, because if that landed, Seraphine probably would have died. But instead, Varus ulti missed. They try to go on Viper, and you might think this guy's going to die, but the Mikhails comes out, and he managed to escape, and it's just a bit too... It's a bit awkward for G2. Their engage was kind of flubbed. I didn't even click anything. How did that happen? Their engage was kind of flubbed, and this fight just goes purely in BLG's way. Bin has a fantastic flank TP, or not flank, but like he TPs into the middle of the fight and gets onto the back line. And without an auto attack based AD carry, when it's poke Varus, this 30% health shield is really annoying. He doesn't even break his shield before killing the enemy AD carry from full alone, essentially. So this BLG team was up around 4k thereabouts before this fight. Now they're going to be up 7k, and you think the game must be over at this point. 7k gold lead at 18 minutes. It's not playable, and Skimod is still not in this game. He is not connected. It's not entirely his fault. Like, there's not much he can do after the early game, but he has been such a big part of G2's early games, and him being shut down, really you can see the different ways these early game plays out, because they really snowballed. They got snowballed on here quite well by BLG to a point where they objectively should not have a way to play this game out. Drake is going to be free because they're up so much gold. Anivia is trading topside. No TPs from the side of BLG, so if they went top, there's a potential that G2 could try to get this dragon with a numbers play, but no grubs from Anivia means that she's not going to take this tower very quickly, but does eventually get it, get some gold. Skimod's getting caught out. Knight was walking topside, but kind of too aggressively, and gets caught, and then a very funny wall traps Knight in the pit, which is kind of hilarious. And here G2 make a very risky play. They say, you know what, this game is kind of doomed. We're gonna flip Nash. And Bin has no TP, and that's what makes them feel so confident to start this Nash, is Bin is not going to be here for a very long time. But this is a very risky play. Looking at it, I didn't think that this was a good idea, because they're going to lose so many resists, and then even if they get the Nash, they're going to lose the fight afterwards, is what I was thinking. But Jun actually goes in a little bit early, and the on engage isn't synced with Shun's engage. Shun went on LeBron, but on went on the rest of the team. And Shun's ulti runs out, and Shun goes down, and then Bin jumps in. Bin has no flash, remember. So he gets CC'd, and he goes down. Hans does get trade killed by Knight, which is really big, because if Hans survived, there could have been a potential for G2 to base and start the Nash again. But Knight going down pretty much is going to stop that. And BLG's gold lead gets cut down by 3k, almost half of it's gone, and a lot of gold being injected onto the side of G2. Now we're back to the point where, okay, this is a pretty big gold lead, but now it's not definitely BLG will win. There is no counterplay. It's just, you know, very large majority of the time they're probably going to win with a 4k gold lead. And Knight is camping this bush, and Lebrov does not respect the potential for Knight to be there. Shun is also looking at caps, and part of... No, never mind. So Shun is looking at caps. Caps has the egg, which you can tell if you don't know. This little like thing above the health bar, the little angel, is a indicator that the egg is up or any revive is up. But Shun is here very deep into the enemy jungle. But Hans jumps into melee range of the Jax, ends and down, dies really fast. A really insane Seraphine ulti lands onto caps. Skewmon goes down, and this Jax is kind of just frying. This is like Bin Jax. He's kind of insane right now. Doing really well, trying to defend caps. Ulti comes out, but the Q from Broken Blade doesn't land onto Bin, and a huge Seraphine heal comes out. So Bin survives. The rest of BLG is here. And I think Seraphine lives, and I don't think anyone dies in response after this play. 5k gold lead for BLG, still very commanding lead, but this lead is starting to become not that important. The problem of this lead is that it's a lot on Jax, and Jax is really annoying to deal with because there's not an AD carry. But immediately right on the replay, there's another fight around mid. Varus ulti goes wide again. That's a third one that really needed to hit. Bin goes into the back line, but has the Zanyas. Now BB is also kind of stalling the Ashe. Bin goes back in. Viper eventually realizes, I'm just ignoring this Scion. I'm flashing in, helping out Bin, and that's a free win fight for BLG. Yesterday in the Gen G series, there was that game where BB was playing Scion and he ulted Viper, and Viper just auto-attacked Scion for like 30 seconds straight, and then G2 won the fight. This game, Viper said, I remember that game. I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm just going to ignore the Scion and flash past him. And you see the difference there between an AD carry helping the backliner and the AD carry getting stopped by the top laner. Baron goes down for BLG. And 8k gold lead. Now we're back to, okay, this is a free win. BLG are going to try to siege, but the dragon is up. And because it's objective bounties, you probably don't want to trade. So they're going to go bot side. There's also not really a reason not to go bot side. In the first place, BLG get the Baron, and now they're going to try to siege. Scion looks for a play and gets Knight's flash. The problem is that against Ashe, these kinds of plays are really risky. On tries to do a changing of the angle with Seraphine ulti with his flash here. So you see here, he's ulting like that direction. He thought that ulting here would change his Seraphine ulti to be here. This works for some skill shots. If you want to know which skill shots it works for, you have to memorize every single ability in the entire game and how it works. And I'm not kidding. There's no consistency. Some work like that and some don't. For example, Ezreal Q doesn't work like the way Seraphine ult does. If you do that with Ezreal Q, it will change the angle based on where you end up. So you just have to remember, pros know a lot about the game, but there are lots of specific champion interactions. Now, to be fair, Seraphine is like the most OP champ, almost like is one of the most OP champs on the patch, so he probably should know that one. But you know, it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. Skewmon, because BB dies, BLG get bot tier 3 very easily, and don't overpress excuse me, to try to get anything more. They're just going to take their 10,000 gold lead and play out this game. They have no more Baron. G2 are perfectly capable of defending with Anivia. Anivia is a classic defensive siege champion, like very good at defending sieges. But weirdly, I think Jax is the one that's really trying to siege. But here, Caps, unforced decision, tries to make a play and kind of just lost the plot a little bit. This was not the time to be trying to make a play. And this instantly ends the game. BLG with a 10k gold lead. If they get a bunch of kills, they are just going to end the game very quickly. Game 3 goes to BLG. Can G2 make a comeback? This is setting up to be one of the best finals. If G2 can win Game 4, it could be an all-timer. Will they make it happen? Game 4, looking at the draft here. I think G2's draft, I really like. I feel like if we just look at how a team fight is going to play out, BLG have Xayah and Cassiopeia, but their win condition and team fight is dive. And those two champions do not really excel when their win condition and team fight is dive. And the reason I say their win condition is dive, because G2 has Kai'Sa into the Xayah. So you might think G2's win condition is dive. Is I feel like Victor is such an effective blocker of Xayah and Kai'Sa and Cassio in a team fight that if BLG try to front and back, especially when considering that it's Cassandra versus Camille top lane, G2 should have the advantage, even though Xayah is a better hyper carry than Kai'Sa is. So from that angle, I kind of like G2's comp. Now, kind of depends on how top lane goes, because Camille can make it very difficult for Victor to fight. And if Victor can't fight and get proper battle lines, then BLG's comp would be way better in a team fight. So it will depend on how the individual lanes go, as well as how the team fights are structured on who wins these eventual team fights. Last game, Skimon had a pretty quiet game. He had a bad start on the Aatrox. This game, he's the one making the first move, did his entire topside jungle, has the red advantage, and wants to invade. Caps has prio for him, Knight has to base, and Shun intelligently pulled the red and started the Krugs. Excuse me. So he is going to not like be caught off guard by this, and he's also going to be able to contest this red. But again, remember last game on the blue buff around top on top jungle, where Shun was just auto-attacking Skimon? It's the same thing where Shun is just auto-attacking Skimon again. This time, Skimon gets the red, gets the kill, but Knight gets the trade kill and Caps has to blow flash. It ends up being 1-for-1, which isn't great, but Caps doesn't realize that BLG is still chasing, and on getting in range with the heal move speed, the heal move speed from G2 side is a bit wasted because Caps was stunned during part of it, and Caps going down also obviously makes this a good play for BLG. Now, this mid lane matchup was in a really bad spot. Knight had to base, and Caps had not yet based. The early lane was going pretty tough for him, so this is going to be really beneficial. 2 kills and a double buff for the Cassio is very effective. Now, Skimon is down a camp because Shun did the Krugs during that red invade. Here, Shun is going to get this scuttle, and this is another camp that is going Shun's way. Additionally, Shun is going to cross, and during this replay, it's kind of annoying that I don't have it, but during this replay, Shun is going to walk towards... I'll show on the map. What he did is he walked towards the Krugs, then... and did the enemy Krugs, then went back and did Scuttle. And this stole another camp. So he got double Scuttle, he lost his red, but he stole the enemy Krug, so that's equal. So basically he just double Scuttled Skimon, but doesn't have a red. And Skimon got the kill, so he's going to have more gold. But Skimon also skipped, if we go back, Skimon, I don't know the right time. Skimon is here doing his bot side, so you would think he would do all of his bot side, but because his Raptors were coming up and he's concerned about those being stolen, he skipped his Gromp. And the reason I'm showing all this is to explain why Shun has like a camp lead, because He's gonna have a camp lead, and it's not exactly clear why, but this is going to matter. Shun does a full clear, hits a fully, and is up 3 camps on Skimon. When it or 4 camps on Skimon, when it kind of feels like, how does this even happen? Weren't they kind of close? So even though Skimon has a kill, Shun is ahead and has an XP advantage, almost on full level, very slightly. Now is level 6, so got some XP from the lane there. And with the level 6 advantage, with the trade that BLG got in the bot lane, this is going to be a dragon start and uncontestable from Skimon. Level 6 jungle, can't fight. Top lane, Bin has a 10 CS lead, but not that surprising. Tanks tend to lose a little bit in these early lanes. Caps doesn't get stunned by the Cassio ulti there, so he is fine, but does cause the, does still deal damage. And Knight is very comfortable in this lane now after those 2 kills. Caps is not that behind considering how, kind of far behind he got set. Shun stealing another camp here, being very annoying. Skimon, again, another game where he is just getting kind of, he's just quite weak. Skimon's still not level 6, and here LeBrob gets knocked back in, but the Cassio W isn't under the Vi ulti, and LeBrob barely survives. Shun overextends, and this ends up in him going down. On also ends up going down, and BB finds a very nice angle here. What happened is Cassante was hiding behind the Krug wall, and as Cassio was leaving, Cassante ulted him into the tower, and that's why Knight's here. Knight still has no flash from the early play on the bottom red buff. So that big jungle lead that exists is now gone, right? Skimon is going to be close to catching up in XP after this second scuttle that he got, and a bunch of gold goes to the side of G2. They win this early fight. Very beneficial for them. Good stuff. BLG does get these grubs though, and the reason they get these grubs is basically Skimon didn't base immediately after that fight, so Shun has what's called death tempo. Death tempo is basically when you are faster on the map because you died and the enemy couldn't go back in base and time for them to stop you from doing your play. So Vi getting the grubs is actually very big because Camille is on the team. Camille, a very notoriously strong split pusher, and that is going to be very beneficial for her going throughout the game. In game 1, all the way back in game 1, Yorick was on the side of G2, and he couldn't really get the split push, even though I mentioned at the beginning of the game, Yorick really needs to split push this game in order to be useful. Now, it didn't end up mattering. They still won the game without it, but it was because the Yorick was useful. It was because they won a 4v5 variant. But that's besides the point. Right now, we're talking about this game, and in this game, Camille, we're looking for her to do, make an improvement over what BB was doing on the split pushing. So, Dragon's up in about a minute, and here Bin is top lane playing very aggressively. He's not actually trying to kill this wave, he's just trying to keep the wave and make it pushing towards him. Bin tries to, he's doing that and dies for it, kind of silly. It's one of those situations where a lot of the time you're not going to die there, but dying there is bad, objectively. Now, no ulti for Wukong on the dragon, but look at the mid situation. Knight is very low, no TP, and despite Wukong not having ultimate, BLG say that they don't feel comfortable starting or contesting this dragon. But this also means that Knight is still stuck in this very bad lane state and gets solo killed there, and this is followed up by Shun going in on Caps, but because Shun Q'd and then flashed in, there was no juice after the ultimate, and Caps ended up surviving. So a big swing there, Caps making a huge play, solo kills, and baits Shun to use ult flash and still die 2 for 0. Really, really fortunate from the side of G2, really good play from them. But the, what's it called? The Casio, like, it kind of looks stupid what she does, but she's kind of already dead immediately. Her flash, like, she probably should flash instantly, but you really, like, if you flash instantly, you're not dodging the laser or their ulti anyway. So you're gonna die if you flash early. But the reason you flash early is that when he flashes in, he has to be looking at you. And that's maybe where you can make a trade play. But essentially, immediately, as soon as this auto happens, Knight, like, unless he literally flashes instantly right now, he's probably dead, but he might just be dead anyway, honestly. I think he just has to base here. He made the mistake before this moment. All right. Now, because because Victor got back ahead of the Casio after that pretty bad early game, the Victor lane is going to have keep prio, and G2 is going to use this prio to make a play on the bot lane. On is very far forward. Caps does a classic mid laner thing where he just uses his entire spells on the enemy champions and just hopes that that's good enough. Here, it's 4 versus 1. BLG said we need to defend our AD carry. We cannot die here, so we Casio TP in, and this is just a bit too scary because G2 don't actually know where Vi is. Vi could be very shortly following up, and Knight goes in, and LeBron with a very slick turnaround on the Casio ulti, resulting in Knight going down. Knight has no flash, remember, because they traded on her when she got solo killed. So LeBron with a big play there. G2 very commanding. 3k gold lead at 14 minutes. Not GG by any means, but a very good start for G2. Really what you want to see. Looking very likely we're going to a game 5. And if BLG don't get some, you know, trump card, this game is going to be very hard because G2 don't have to do anything super crazy. Their composition is very good at diving, but they also should win front to back. So BLG need to make some sort of play in order to come back into this game. Herald's coming up, and Shun showing like in this bot line bush. As soon as he sees this, Skewmon just instantly starts the Herald. BLG could fight this if they wanted to, but they say we're just going to not fight this. We're gonna play it chill. We're not actually trading for anything specifically. Here, Bin almost gets solo killed, but manages to flash out and get away. Bin has to run away from the Wukong, and Caps backs off for the duration while waiting for Lebrov to come back. And as soon as Lebrov comes back, that's when Victor walks back up, and no tower taken for either side. They both survive. Bin TP's back top lane to get some auto attacks on the turret. But more importantly, Skewmon is the one getting caught at around this time. Very interesting sequence here, because the reason that Skewmon is fighting this is BLG is full giving bot lane right now because Casio is not showing, and this is indicating to G2 that there's going to be a dive. They don't actually see Casio yet, but they are assuming there's going to be a dive because Casio should have shown bot by now. Now, if there's going to be a dive, Skewmon needs to try to defend, right? And one of the ways to defend is to mess with the people on the way. So, Skewmon is getting turned on by this group. Casio ends up being here, which he probably didn't expect. But what's a bit weird is that the Vi ulti turns the Wukong around. So right now, he's facing down away from Casio. But then the Vi ulti turns him around, so he gets stunned by the Vi ulti. He probably would have died even if that didn't happen. But he would have wasted a lot more time. And now Bin is going to get the top tower. Shun and On making a good play there. Getting Camille ahead. And this is probably the worst person for G2's from G2's perspective to get strong. From BLG's perspective, Camille is the perfect champion for getting strong because she is, you know, a genuine hyper carry that can dive and make it like very difficult for this Victor. Again, the Victor is really the big part of this comp in my opinion. If the Victor can survive, then the team fights are going to be very difficult for BLG. G2 leave out on the bot side. There is no Vi ulti for Vi, so they don't decide to fight this dragon. But once the Vi ulti is up, they look for a bot play. Good ward here from On, recognizing the potential for this, and gets ready, finds the angle with Camille and Vi and Miasma. No escape for the Rakan. Another pick. Labrov getting caught a little bit this series, but you know, it's hard to survive that. Like, there's just so much CC and like not even a way to dodge it. Camille ulti, you can't really do anything about it. But another tower for the Camille, and Cassio just TP's back top. You know, this overload play was successful, and now Cassio can TP back top. She's gonna get her wave. BLG is making some plays and has cut down that 3k goldie from G2 to only 700-800, which is really nothing at this point in the game. There is a fight that is going to erupt in the mid lane. So let's look at what happens. Right now, looking at strengths, this Camille has 2 items, the Vi has 2 items, the Wukong has 2 items, and the Kai'Sa has 2 items. But the engaged Hansama gets engaged on at the same time as Labrov getting engaged on. Flash is used. Hansama had to use both sums, but the Vi and the Alistar had to use their sums as well. Now, I think Alistar had Spellbook before this, so this isn't a full flash cooldown, I'm pretty sure. Although it might be. Let's see. I guess I should just check. No, it was a Spellbook thing. So when you swap to your summoner spell afterwards, the Spellbook starts from 0. The cooldown starts from 0, but the length of the cooldown until it comes back up is whatever it's supposed to be. So Alistar's flash is going to come back up faster than 5 minutes, I'm pretty sure. G2, they got the Herald, but they don't end up getting anything off it. They just end up wasting it. They should have probably, I mean, they definitely should have used it at a different time, but maybe also should have used it in a way where it would cause more problems. Now we're going on to the next dragon coming up in a minute. This med tower is very low. BLG take that very easily, but this Camille is really being a big problem. 1k up now. She wasn't really ahead in lane against Cassante, but has gotten ahead due to the 2 side lane picks and the aggression that she has shown. She also got some plates in bot tier 2. This has been a turbulent game gold graph, right? Because it started off good for BLG, then it went G2 side. Now it's kind of back to even. How the game is going to play out really is going to come down to who wins this next fight, if either one of them win it decisively. Now, Knight is getting, I don't even know what he's doing in the pit, but whatever. He was probably killing a pink. Here, both teams are going to contest around the like the dragon is up, so that's going to be a big part of the game. But importantly, in this situation, Bin is going to do what Camille does best and threaten on the side. Cassante is going to TP in on this mid wave, and BLG do something very intelligent here. They walk towards the Nash instead of trying to walk into the dragon, and this kind of ruins what G2 is planning to do. This makes this TP from BB really bad, because now they aren't the ones starting the objective. They're the ones that have to respond. If BLG start this Nash, and while they're doing the dragon, they're going to get it. They have really strong Nash damage. Cassio, Xayah, and Vi all do pretty decent amount of Nash damage. And Bin is just sitting bot lane. And Camille is really good at this because she's so hard to kill. She can just sort of run circles around you while you're chasing, and in the picture-in-picture this entire time, you were going to see Camille just run around forever, and BLG do what they intended to do the whole time, which was start this Nasher. And this is really going to come down to, are they going to finish? And BLG say they're not going to finish, but G2 say, hey, no, we're going to finish. But Vi gets the smite, and this smite is so big. If G2 got this smite, this game would have been completely blown open, but because Vi is the one that got the smite, the game is fine. The game is like not lost now for BLG. But while it was initially very risky for BLG to start this Nash, they actually leave it at 4k, and it's G2 are the ones that say, hey, we're gonna flip this. But Schemon doesn't get the smite. the game is in a sort of neutral state, and G2 try to get the dragon. And with 2 people dead, you would assume that BLG wouldn't try to fight this, but BLG are not a normal team. There's a reason why they're in the first stand finals, and they look for this engage. They know that Cassante has no TP, and they find the angle onto the Wukong. Level 16 Camille ult lasts so long, and on with the spellbook is TPing in. Bin still going forward. Flash in from Knight as well. Combo onto multiple people. Caps barely survives, but Labrov goes down. And all of a sudden, the game looked relatively equal. 25 minutes in, G2 has 3 members dead for 30 seconds plus, and BLG has Baron. This very well could be the end of the game and the end of the tournament. G2, BLG have 2 wins. Can they end it here? They get this inhibitor. Again, they have the 3 grubs. They're getting those little grubbies. The combo onto the Cassante, and then the root. The Cassante just has no chance to press W. And it's 5 versus 1. What can Caps really do? Doesn't have the ultimate. BLG focusing the Nexus. Congratulations to BLG. Well-deserved victory. 3-1 over G2 in the not MSI. First stand finals. Well-deserved. They played very well. G2 as well valiantly put up a good fight. I think they played very well as well. But BLG in those crunch time situations did come out ahead time and time again. Had some very dominant performances as well. Not, you know, this was a very fun event. I hope everybody enjoyed watching the event as well as watching some of this analysis. If you liked the whole watching the games while they're happening, let me know. I'm not sure I want to do that again. I might just do post reviews as well. In terms of player of the series, I think it's between Bin and Shun. I think both of them had really solid performances. I think Shun had a really solid set of games. I think I'm leaning towards giving it Shun, but Bin had such a good game. I don't know. Let's say Bin, because he had a great Camille game. No, let's say Shun. I take it back. I think Shun, like, I feel like Skewmon was playing so well, and Shun did such a good job shutting him down in these last 2 games. And I feel like that was a really big part about why the BLG team ended up winning. Congratulations to them. If you enjoy this type of content and want to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what I did well. Let me know what I could have done better. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you all the next video. Bye-bye.